chassis.
Boy, no kidding. You talk about torque. It's just trying to flip that thing upside down. One very, very pretty run. He begins to drift a little off to his right at the end of the 260-foot course. So we've got some definite action in the 5,800-pound dragster tractors. So we've definitely got a pull-off. So far involved, Wayne Sullivan, Ron Headley, Billy Kelly, and now Ed GOVRO. So it will make for some real excitement in just a few minutes.
Do the words full pull mean anything to you? Good job.
Yeah, that sounds good. It was really hooked up good there.
Now, what do you think? Did you just make it look easy, or is it you're going to see a lot of tractors go to a pull-off?
There might be a few more out there. If they got it weighted right, I believe they might get it out.
You appeared to have the balance just right.
Yeah, it was perfect. Got a good one that time.
Perfect. That's the word I understand. Hey, tell me about this little gasoline engine here, this Briggs & Stratton. Looks like something out of a lawnmower.
Yeah, I use that to unload it and load it off my bus or drive it around here. We don't have a tow tractor. I can drive it around here.
All right, good thinking. Okay, let's see what happens. You could win it all.
Okay.
Ed says there's still more to come. Hey, you like World War II aircraft engines? Well, we've got a 12-cylinder Allison in a tractor puller coming up next.
A good percentage of the people in the Astrodome today were not even born when that engine was manufactured. That is an Allison V12 out of World War II era aircraft. And all of you people who wrote me letters, all of you airplane enthusiasts, after last year's show, I never will again say that that engine was in the P-51 Mustang, even though it wasn't a couple.
I'll tell you where you have seen these engines more recently is in the unlimited hydroplanes, the boats. These and the Griffon engine were the stable of that sport until they went over to the turbines.
And, Paul, I love the name of Jerry Fornich's tractor, Lurch. That was my favorite character in the Adams Family, the butler. He was about the size of a V12 Allison. All right, this machine is out of the state of Iowa and is underway. It looked a little front-end heavy as he rolled away. Nope, now the front end comes up for beautiful weight transfer. Too high. Balance is off a bit, and not enough steam either.
A little too much. Jerry fights it there at the end, digs himself in. Not nearly good enough. 255 feet does not get him into the pull-off. In fact, he's the first fella that we've seen not go the full 260 feet. So Jerry Fornich is out of the run and obviously disappointed. Now, watch here. You see the back wheel spinning, trying to grab traction, and then the front end comes up way, way too high. That's too much weight transfer, and the run is effectively over. So the first man not to pull the 260 feet is Jerry Fornich. That magnificent supercharged 12-cylinder Allison engine sounded great, but it didn't get the job done here tonight. Let's go to the far end. Here's Steve Evans.
Let me ask you something about one of these big monster motors. But they don't like high RPMs. Do you use a different gear than an automotive-style tractor would?
Well, we run them so that we can't get around 4,500 RPMs. Over that, they would self-destruct.
Yeah, but the torque is awesome.
Yeah, you're right. You're so right.
Thank you. Jerry Fornich, Paul, quite a gentleman. A pleasure to talk to him down here. And back up at the starting line, I can see that Bob Chickering is the next tractor to hook. That is the inch pitcher out of Bloomfield, Iowa. I think some people are left with the impression after watching these guys that maybe driving one of these tractors is easy. All found out otherwise.
You know, Steve, these 5,800-pounders may be the trickiest to drive. First of all, before the run begins, you've got to make a decision and set your weight. If you're off by as little as 50 pounds, your run could be over before it starts. Once the run begins, you're trying to get it up, get it to plane out, and balance. Because they're so light, they're also very fast to respond. As you're riding the throttle and the brake, if it takes a hop, if you don't jump on it right away, well, then you've lost again. So some of the greatest skill in the sport right here.
I'm impressed, Paul. You could have a future as a puller after all of that. You learn quickly.
I'll tell you, I'm not so sure. They really apparently are very tough to drive, though we've seen some superlative runs already here. And we are looking forward to what ought to be an incredible pull-off.
And speaking of power, how about Bob Chickering? Now, this is another of the Allisons, but it is far more modified than Jerry Fornich's motor that failed to carry him the distance. It looks like, yes, Bob Chickering is going to join the crowd in the pull-off. Another full pull.
So now we have 5 men lined up for the pull-off. Bob Chickering joins in that Allison engine, as Steve suggested, highly modified. Look at those exhaust stacks coming out of the side. One magnificent looking machine, and it really doesn't get any better than this. Look at how carefully he reaches down, controls that brake, and makes what could be considered an absolutely perfect run. Now, Bob Chickering is at the far end with Steve.
Well, Bob, apparently this track is holding up because you make number 5 going to the pull-off. Congratulations.
Hey, it's a real good track.
You know, these engines look so massive and complicated. Are they really?
Oh, they can be a little ornery once in a while. I've destroyed one about a month ago.
How many man-hours would go into rebuilding one of these old girls?
How what?
How many man-hours would it take to really go through one of these and freshen it up?
Took me about a week.
A week of 8-hour days?
Well, no, it's longer than that.
Okay, we'll see you in the pull-off.
Okay, thank you.
So one Allison goes to the pull-off.
Bob Chickering with a masterful run. Now this is Ken Popham. You saw his dad in the 4-wheel drive trucks. He's backing up to hook up the Outlaw, and he is the last puller before the pull-off. Now, if he makes it in, then we'll have 6 running in the pull-off.
Boy, is this a beautifully detailed tractor. I wonder how much it cost to polish those wheels. You know, I love the little slogan there in the weight transfer box called Decision Maker, because not everything is in the hands of the drivers or the mechanics, because that sled has an awful lot to say about the outcome of any pull. And when we get to the pull-off a little later on, well, they'll change the weight in that box and make it even tougher. Look at those huge rear tires spin, maybe spinning just a little too hard.
Ken Popham, the Outlaw, bounces up and down. He fights and struggles with it. It's 260 feet for a full pull, and Ken Popham comes up short. 257 feet, so he doesn't make it into the pull-off, but 5 other men will, and that should make for some real excitement here in the Astrodome. 257 feet, and he's disappointed. Here are the 5 that are in: Sullivan, Headley, Kelly, Ed GOVRO, and Bob Chickering all make it in to the pull-off with a full pull. Now let's go to Steve.
This is a broken supercharger drive belt. Were it not broken and still on the motor, then you might be in that pull-off. You had a lot of momentum going.
I'm pretty sure I would have been in pull-off if the belt wouldn't have broke.
Oftentimes, though, it's not the belt at fault. There's things that happen inside the motors or superchargers that can cause them to break.
Yes, it is, but this is just the fact of the old belt, I guess.
I better change the belts more often.
Well, it's supposed to have been a new one not long ago. It just a little bit of oil and everything can cause it to break.
Sorry to see you come up just a few feet short.
So we've got a pull-off coming in the 5,800-pound dragster tractors. The semifinal of the monster trucks is coming up next.
We're back in the Houston Astrodome, and those big tires can only mean one thing. It's time for more monster truck competition. And there is the Carolina Crusher, Gary Porter. Not a lot of power in that truck. It's a small 327 Chevrolet. Quite a bit of power, however, in the Clydesdale. This is Bennett Clark at the wheel. I'm Steve Evans along with Paul Page. And Paul, from high in the Astrodome, they almost look like toys, but they're deadly serious racing machines.
Indeed they are, and very, very agile. Carolina Crusher jumps out into the lead over Clydesdale. Clydesdale having some trouble as Clydesdale makes the turn. Clydesdale turned in a little bit early, and as a result, they're now neck and neck.
Oh, Bennett Clark made a tremendous turn in the Clydesdale. Gary Porter got a little out of shape, had to take some time to straighten the truck out, and is going to be Clydesdale in the far lane. The multi-hued blue truck, Bennett Clark. He will go into the final round of monster truck racing.
And there he will face the winner of the round between Southern Storm and Bigfoot. But Bennett Clark wins this round. We go back and look. This was Gary Porter's problem. Look how high he gets in the air. Takes a big bounce and almost pulls the machine off. You see him try to turn the wheels and get it back under control, while at the same time, here is Bennett Clark in Clydesdale. Nice straight down the way, makes a little correction with his wheels, bouncing nice and even, and gets the job done.
Well, Paul, here's a follow-up on the straw bale story that I filed earlier. Apparently, the bales are doing their job. Look at this. The roofs of the cars are crushed down on top of the bales. If the bales weren't there, who knows? Maybe the roofs would be down on the floor of the car, and you'd have these giant cavities for the wheels of the monster trucks to fall down into. So the straw is doing its job, and I knew you'd want to know. Actually, I did this piece just so I could walk on the cars some more.
Oh, is that a guy who loves his life or what? Well, this is the Kentuckian backing up, ready for the pull-off. Now, the full pull distance is up to 300 feet, and the sled gearing has been changed and weight has been added. The Kentuckian, driven by Wayne Sullivan of Warsaw, Kentucky, one of the 5 men that will be in the 5,800-pound dragster tractor pull-off. Well, my man Steve now has his 12-foot ladder and is ready to interview Bennett Clark.
Well, Bennett, I tell you what, I thought you were in trouble until Gary kind of lost it coming out with that bar jump and gave you the lead.
Shoot, I come around the corner there, and I just nailed it with all I had. I cut the rear steering a little bit too hard, and I nailed it. I got to spinning. I stood in it all it had. It just got to spinning. I caught a little traction. He made a mistake, and I just capitalized on it.
Do you try to forget that other monster truck, or do you kind of subconsciously, you're always kind of looking out for it?
Well, I made the turn. You know, you're always conscious of maybe rolling over into him, because we was going real fast down there. So I just made the turn. I just tried to stand in it just hard as I could and tried to get the truck just straight as I could, just quick as I could. And this smaller motor than his, I just really have to stretch it out all I can.
See you in the final round.
Okie doke. Thank you.
Bennett Clark will face either Bigfoot or Southern Storm. Back in the pulling lanes, Kentuckian Wayne Sullivan puts the power to his machine. 300 foot is the distance. There's more weight there. And how will he do now in the pull-off?
It may be a little nose heavy, Paul. That front end didn't get quite as high as some of the drivers would like to have them. I'll tell you what, those motors are getting a little tired. You see the blow-by out of them?
245.71 feet for Wayne Sullivan and the Kentuckian. So his number goes into the book, and of course that is the mark that everyone else will have to shoot against.
And you know, we really don't know, kids, we really don't know how tough that mark will be until we see the rest of the competition. But I think he's probably set a pretty good standard out there.
4 others in this pull-off. One of them, this man, Missouri's Ed GOVRO, as he's ready to lay the power to his machine, warming up at the line. In the meantime, let's go back to the other end of the track. Steve is with Wayne Sullivan.
Well, Wayne, that old sled was following you like a hungry hound dog until that blower bell came off. You could have got some more distance. That was obvious.
That's for sure, yeah. I could have, if the blower bell had broke, I could have maybe won another 10 feet, and that would have given him a little bit more to shoot at. I think he can beat me pretty easy now.
Well, for your sake, let's hope not.
Oh, yeah, we'll try next time to do a little bit better.
Okay, thank you, Wayne.
300 feet is the course distance. The Blue Ox, Ed GOVRO, on the line. The number to beat, 245.71 feet.
Watch the butterflies in those twin fuel injectors, those red circles. Let's see how much power he gives on the initial launch here. Oh, not much at all, Paul. Barely cracked it open. Now the hammer goes down, but the box comes forward.
Ed knows if there's too much power, then there's no traction at the back. The wheels just spin. Look at the torque trying to twist that frame completely over. The Blue Ox, Ed GOVRO, a new distance. He's pulled further now. GOVRO at 272.85 feet. So he's almost 30 feet further than Wayne Sullivan's pull. Well, he had a very good run in the first round. He really had it well balanced. He's got it balanced here. Look at him. Look out front, measure the course, decide exactly where he wants to place that machine. It's one magnificent run. Ed GOVRO, 272 feet. He's the benchmark now. Let's go down to Steve Evans. He's with Ed.
Well, Ed, there was no question.